Tonight's meal, tilapia surprise with boiled cabbage. Begin cooking steps 1 through 50 now.
Are you kidding me? Making dinner shouldn't feel like doing a 1,000-piece puzzle. With Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals, the hard part's already done. Pre-chopped ingredients, zero stress. Just assemble, bake, and enjoy. No complicated steps, no mountain of dishes. Try Assemble and Bake today. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
I can't help thinking that the Monday night FA Cup tie against Reading is something of a January back-to-work atmosphere after football Christmas that was.
Yeah, very much an anticlimax, that one. I wonder whether there might be quite a lot of changes for that game.
It's quite difficult in the aftermath of the incredible excitement of the Madrid game to think back to the Everton game, but really the key fact about that started as City slumped and fell to pieces against Southampton on Saturday last week.
Yeah, Saturday night, and it was an abject performance from City, wasn't it? And really, really bad. Southampton, good value for their win. Mancini has come out since and publicly criticised all of his players, which is a pretty dramatic thing to do, and I'd say highly counterproductive. Behind the scenes, it seems like he's fallen out with several players. Be interesting to see who actually plays at the weekend for City. From the outside, it looks like that's a club in a bit of disarray, and United took absolutely full advantage of it. And I thought it was a really interesting decision from Ferguson to change his mind about the type of team and the players he was going to play against Everton. He very specifically says, I was going to make 7 changes. I decided not to do that because of City's loss. The thinking being that this was a game that, while not sealing the title, could have some serious consequences. Difference between 6 points and 9 points. Yeah, okay, it's 3 points, but it's not title winning or title losing. Difference between 9 and 12, I think there's a mental factor there, especially after Mancini had said we have to win 12 or 13 of our games. And it means that absolutely in pole position. And, that sounds like hubris, but yeah, hey, if you can't talk like that when you're 12 points clear with 13 games to go, when can you?
Yeah, and it's not 13 games to go, it's 12, so it's even better.
There you go, and as Ferguson says, just keep ticking off the games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a professional performance that was against Everton, and it was a joy that Ferguson made that decision. And it's really interesting because you can see a certain degree of logic to the idea that, okay, City dropped points, so therefore we're in a relatively stronger position, so we could take more liberties in the Everton game because we've got more wiggle room. But it's not how Ferguson thinks, obviously. Ferguson thinks this is a massive opportunity to apply enormous pressure to our opposition. And I think if you look at the personnel in both games, the only player that you could argue may have played against Madrid was Vidic, who didn't play because they played in the Everton game. That you could say that maybe Vidic would have played a part in the Madrid game, but actually it sort of worked out nicely that he could rotate Vidic and Ferdinand and play Evans in both games, obviously, and just kind of pick and choose one for each game.
Right, and he said why he did that, because basically the Everton game was likely to be more physical and the Madrid game more about movement and passing, and it played to the strengths of the two players, and neither can play 2 games in a week at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's fine, because we definitely have ample cover. And one thing that I thought was very interesting is the Vidic, Evans, De Gea axis was finally really effective in the Everton game. I mean, I have to say, I thought we were outstanding against Everton. Bit ropey in the first half, maybe, but that is one of the most professional, composed, high-quality, league title-winning performances I've seen from United for such a long time. It wasn't swashbuckling and exciting in the way we have been sometimes this season, but we looked incredibly solid. And I'm very interested to know what you made of the decision to mark Fellaini. We talked on the podcast in the very brief Everton preview. Apologies to Rob Diablo for us not really covering that and focusing on the football Christmas game. But yeah, we made a very brief mention of that, and you sort of said Fellaini is very likely to be out. Of course, he did play, and Fergie basically sicked Phil Jones on him. That was a full-on man-to-man follow him to the loo at half-time type performance, wasn't it?
Well, it's interesting. In two key defeats for United this season, the 1-0 defeat to Everton on the opening day of the season and Tottenham's 3-2 win at Old Trafford a few months back, the two players that really caused damage to United on those days, Fellaini and Gareth Bale, were marked by Phil Jones almost out of the games in recent weeks. And it's not typical for Ferguson to do that. He's only ever done that in specific games over the years, hasn't he? I mean, you can think back to Phil Neville and Gianfranco Zola years and years ago, but he won't generally pick out a key player and man mark. And there are consequences to doing that, and we can talk about those consequences when we talk about the Madrid game in a bit. But he did that. It was very, very effective in both occasions. And Jones put in a couple of excellent performances as a result.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Fellaini, somebody said to me, look, we're man-marking Fellaini, he's not Lionel Messi, to which I responded, yes, but we've done an excellent job of making him look like he is every time he plays against us, so probably worth doing something about that. We had a question, when I put out the shout for questions on Twitter, Anton Alfie said, what's Phil Jones's best position? Very good, sir. But I think you now actually have the answer to that question, and that Phil Jones's best position is just following someone around.
Right, yeah, it's a brand new position, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
It's like the anti-libero, there's no freedom in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the in jailero. No, that doesn't work. But anyway, I thought De Gea had a really, really fine performance against Everton, looked very solid. Vidic was really good. I can't think of anyone who had a bad game in that game, actually. Raphael, man of the match, wonderful, wonderful performance from Raphael against Everton.
Oh, and he was very proud of it, wasn't he, as well?
He was.
I thought both the fullbacks did very well, actually. I mean, given that Everton are quite strong in that area, well, definitely down the left-hand side, aren't they? And really, there's no real threat from Everton's flanks at all. So I thought both played very well. Jones did his job for like an hour, and then Carrick came on to take control of the game, basically. And all in all, is extremely solid professional performance from United, and yet not as spectacular as some of the games this season, but 3 points, 3 huge points in the title race.
The goals were interesting. Old agent Phil Neville, he always gives us a little something when he comes back, doesn't he? Despite of his incredibly physical tussle with Wayne Rooney, when they sort of slightly kick lumps out of each other in a way. The Everton fan against the Man United fan playing on the wrong teams.
I'm sure they enjoyed it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. You got the impression that they did. Worth pointing out the absolutely monumental block from Vidic early on in that. Well, it wasn't that early, was it? It was quite late on, and we did have to defend quite a lot in that game, but our defending was excellent.
Right.
The whole team defended brilliantly. The system worked defensively.
It did, and look, we shouldn't forget that Everton, before the game, had only lost 3 games all season, the same number as United, right? This is a team that,
absolutely.
In the parlance, is hard to beat. They're a very, very tough side, and United made them look not very tough.
It was interesting to see David Moyes and Gary Neville sort of analyse the game together on Monday Night Football, which was slightly surreal. But, Moyes was full of praise for United and just felt that Everton was slightly off their game. And they did lose, was it Distan they lost just before the game, played Johnny Heitinger instead, which is obviously a pretty big loss. It's a pretty big net reduction in quality, isn't it? How could we not mention this was it? This was the moment. It's come a long way into the season, but Ryan Giggs, having hit top form again, has continued his absolutely staggering record, which marketers worldwide love because it ties in so neatly with the rebranding of the Premier League, but a goal in every Premier League season ever.
Well, and of course a couple before that as well, Football did exist before 1992.
I refuse to believe that.
It did. It's true. I've seen black and white images.
He took his goal brilliantly, bent it round the defender, and it was really impressive. And he was mind-blowingly good again. I mean, I don't necessarily mean mind-blowingly good relative to the pantheon of all footballers of all time, but I just mean for a player who, in the first half of the season, looked totally finished. He's been incredible when he's played for us recently.
Yeah, and as you say, a really fine goal. A great moment for him. It appeared that his teammates knew something about what that meant more than he did.
Well, I think he was like, come on lads, don't get too excited. It's only 1-0, and it was quite early in the game. The Van Persie goal, worth a mention as well. It broke that spectacular 180-minute goal drought that he'd been suffering.
Oh, sell him. He's rubbish.
I know, Van Persie out, but Phil Neville should not have played him on side, and Everton, as was pointed out on the analysis on Monday Night Football, were far too high up the pitch. But my goodness, what a ball from Raphael, and the timing of Van Persie's run was spectacular.
Yeah, fine goal. And while we're picking out players for praise, we should praise David De Gea, as you said. I thought solid game. Outstanding save from Leon Osman, wasn't it, to keep out Osman's volley. And just one of a string of outstanding saves in the past week, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep us on the Everton game enough to give it its due credit, because I do think it is worthy. It was a real message to the rest of the league, actually, our performance in that game. And I don't know, you'd think maybe the Madrid game coming up would sort of have almost knocked us off our stride a bit, just because of the people's concentration being elsewhere. But yeah, as you say, like Fergie making that massive change in team selection, putting such a strong side out, there was just a sense of purpose and professionalism and drive. And I actually think the fact that Madrid game was coming up became this motivational thing. Like let's prove what a really good team we could be. Everyone's written us off.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something in that. Of course, I think Ferguson had his team selection for Madrid in mind already, didn't he, ahead of Everton? So I'm not sure it was a personal motivation thing about, get yourself in the team to face Madrid. But yeah, as a collective, it was a huge opportunity for United. I'm sure there's absolutely no doubt left in that dressing room before the game of how important that was, and how the focus had to be on Everton because of all the hype and publicity around Madrid, and the fact that heading off to Bernabeu and the glamour of that tie, and Mourinho and Ronaldo, and what a load of distraction there would have been. But I thought the focus of United was brilliant. I can't say enough about Ferguson's decision. It was absolutely the right one, I think, to really. He'll sacrifice the Reading game, of course. He'll make loads of changes for that one because he's played a very strong side twice in a row. But it's absolutely the right decision in the context. Absolutely,
and it's made our season look much different. This was, unless we had managed to beat Madrid, this is about as good as it was likely to get, isn't it? The fact that we beat Everton comfortably, 12 and City lost, which I don't think many of us saw coming really, even though they have been fragile, and so we're 12 points clear and we're still in with a shout. So let's take ourselves to sunny Spain, Viva España, and a man of the match, United man of the match winning performance from the Fresh Prince of Longsight, the boy Danny. What a performance, Ed.
Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure he won the match. Man of the match winning. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Outstanding from Danny Welbeck. Of course, him and Rooney were completely sacrificed. They were asked to play in defensive wide positions, almost as if they were just augmenting the fullbacks. Welbeck did that defensive side better than Rooney, and he also did the attacking side too as well. And he offered a real option for United going forward. Great performance from him. He looked shattered by the end, didn't he, Welbeck? He ran his heart out, scored a fantastic goal, coming off his marker, away from goal to head in. Difficult skill and counterintuitive to what you normally do when you attack the ball, but just a really strong performance from United all round. Yes, United conceded lots of possession. Yes, Madrid had lots of chances, but for the most part, Madrid played in front of United, and that was pretty comfortable. Lots and lots of those 30 chances that Madrid created were long-range shots, and they weren't that threatening. And of the times that they were threatening, De Gea was equal to them. And the goal was an absolutely fantastic goal that you could really do nothing about. There's something superhuman in Ronaldo when he can jump higher than Patrice Evra. Literally, the whole of him was higher than Patrice Evra.
Brilliant.
And it was just a brilliant goal. You can't do anything for that. But all around, loads of praise for United for the work they did. The tie's in the balance, of course, but 1-1 is a fantastic result.
A brilliant quote from Sir Alex about that, which was that he was going to have a go at Evra, or he had a go at Evra for not jumping with Ronaldo effectively. Then he saw the replays and realised that Ronaldo's knee was level with Patrice Evra's head, realised he probably couldn't have done too much about that one. Yeah, obviously everyone and their dog has said, everyone and their Rio Ferdinand has said that goal reminded them of Moscow 2008, because it had a very similar hang time situation. I don't understand hang time. There's something that I don't get about it, but in terms of physics, but man, he really did jump for that one.
Yeah, it's the density of air.
That's what it is.
No, I'm lying. Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, surely gravity should interact with him in the same way it interacts with any other object.
No, it just looks at him and considers him to be too handsome and too much of a force of nature to deal with, as it would deal with mere mortals.
Didn't celebrate the goal, Ronaldo, which, to be honest, I don't like this whole thing. I think you're playing for a side, you should celebrate because you're celebrating with the fans, you know, and okay, fine, it's respect for the team and all of that kind of stuff. And he plays the PR game well, doesn't he, Ronaldo? But you scored a goal for your side, go celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a time and a place, and the one thing that I don't like about the muted celebration is that you could see that every fibre of Biz being was absolutely delighted that he'd just done one of them incredibly Cristiano Ronaldo-like things on the world stage, and he's a big fan of doing things like that. You know, he likes how good he is, doesn't he? So there was a slight, like, oh, wait a minute, I've got to remember not to explode with joy at this point.
Yeah, you kind of got the feeling that he might have practiced that pose in the mirror a few times beforehand.
Well,
look happy, look sad, look contemplative.
To be fair to the lad, he would have been pretty confident that he'd score, being as he scores about 12 goals a game on average.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the details, because there was some really interesting stuff in this game. The tactical side of things, wasn't there? You know, United playing two strikers in wide positions and playing them really, really deep, basically augmenting the fullbacks. I wonder whether if Valencia had been in better form, he'd have played and Rooney might have played left. And of course, Welbeck would have been out on the side then. So, you know, a little bit of practicality from Ferguson. It's just that players playing well and players he trusted. So that was really interesting. And then Jones in midfield didn't exactly man mark Ronaldo, except when Ronaldo came inside. And that was really interesting. He basically played as a centre-back in the centre of midfield.
Yes.
You know, he marked a zone, and he did that very, very effectively. And of course, Rafael had a difficult time against not only Ronaldo, but Ozil and Coentrao as well. And they almost seemed to try and target him. And I've seen some bad press for Rafael, which is unfair, because he did have a really tough first half, but he basically had three players to mark, you know, and so he made a few mistakes, and he got a bit rash, and he got himself a yellow card, and I wonder how many fans thought, uh-oh. But I thought lots and lots of praise should be given as well, because he pulled himself together second half. He didn't get himself sent off. He had a very effective second half, and much, much better, and it was a sign of maturity for me.
Yeah, I actually thought when Rafael got that yellow card that it could be a really negative turning point in the whole tie. And as you say, he deserves an absolute world of credit for the fact that, you know, because in the first half it did look like old Rafa. And actually, I was going to say something before the game. I kind of regretted not saying it on the show last week about how I had some concerns about Rafael, but I wouldn't have said it on the show last week because it intensified after the Everton game and such a good performance. I had some concerns about whether the situation and the level of opposition that he would be facing would actually bring out some of the worst in Rafael. The fact that it did and he recovered is almost more impressive than if it hadn't at all, because recovering from a difficult situation is really the mark of greatness, actually, much more than never being in a difficult situation. And yeah, if you were marking Mesut Ozil, Cristiano Ronaldo and Coentrao all at the same time, you'd probably have a bad game too.
Well, obviously I wouldn't, because, you know, I'm fullback supreme, obviously.
No, of course not. Let's talk about Dave then, because the whole world and his wife has decided that David De Gea is an absolutely magnificent goalkeeper after last night. Funnily enough, a bit flappy on two crosses, I thought.
Interesting, yeah, but eight outstanding saves. Wasn't it? I mean, the save after 5 minutes to tip the shot onto the post was out of this world. I'm not quite sure how to describe his flying, two-footed, feet higher than his hands. Quite clearly, he should have used his hands save against Alonso, though.
I think we can only call it David De Neo, because it was fully out of the Matrix, that save. Unbelievable. And you say he should have used his hands, but I don't know if he could have got his hands there, given his body shape. There must have been some part of him that thought, getting my foot to this is the quickest way to get to the ball.
Do you know what? The only other time I've seen that move was when Eric Cantona kicked Matthew Simmons in the face. Exactly the same move.
And if you're not following at 8-Bit Football, you should be, but they did a particular tribute to the comparison between the Kung Fu kick and the Kung Fu save. But yeah, the save in the first few minutes, I don't think you can overstate the importance of that, because 1-0 down then, not getting the first goal in that game, the whole tie shifts on that. And you know, I'm watching the save on a loop right now as we speak, and it's mesmerising how good it is.
Yes, I was watching in the pub. It was mostly United fans. a few of another persuasion in there, and it was almost stunned into silence by that save. I think everyone couldn't believe it. And of course, the Spanish broadcaster there played the super slow-mo over and over and over again, and it still seemed unreal.
It was unreal, that's the thing. It's a save that very, very few keepers would make. And this is why United fans, those of us who sort of have this faith in De Gea, think that it's worth whatever he costs you, because he's going to do stuff like that and the rest of it's going to take care of itself.
Very, very nice contrast with Joe Hart. England's Joe Hart, the best goalkeeper in the world. Trademark.
Yes, of course. Yeah, who is it exactly have a great game on Saturday? Although, can't believe we haven't got much time for recording tonight, so we can't do justice to the Gareth Barry own goal. What a finish! So calm under pressure.
Class. Yeah, he strokes into the net. I mean, it's a measure of class, I think, when you can pass the ball into a net like that.
Absolutely. Van Persie really did have opportunities to pass the ball into the net, and the one right at the end, which was an excellent save by the keeper, which we didn't get to take the corner that we got for. I mean, he didn't do too much wrong, but God, that one where he missed the volley. Oh, that's got to... And the one where Giggsy didn't hit it first time as well. Yeah. I've got the bad feel when I think about those.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Jones has come out today and said we had the chances to win the game, and there is some regret, isn't there? That Giggs' effort 12 yards out, just lash it. Put your foot through it, son. Yeah. As a certain commentator would have said. And Van Persie, if he connects with that clean, it goes in. 99 times he connects with that clean, doesn't he? And he just didn't on this occasion. Really, really unlucky.
So what did you make of Madrid? I was incredibly impressed with particularly their first half performance. The fact that every time we got the ball, they just swarmed us. Their level of energy and their level of pressing was really amazing. But then it really dropped off in the second half, actually.
And that's been a factor all season for Madrid. This is not unusual at all. So yeah, the pressing was really impressive, and it forced United to give the ball away a lot and play a lot of long balls. Michael Carrick, for example, the stat flashed up on the TV, didn't it? 76%, which is really unusual for him to be that low and that inaccurate. That's because he was playing far too many long balls, and Madrid were pressing very well, and United weren't keeping the ball well enough. But I thought a lot of what Madrid did was in front of us. So they are very, very good in broken play. I think I said this in my preview of the match. And it's remarkable, but one of the most dangerous situations that Madrid get is when there's an opposition corner.
Yeah.
And the play is fragmented and a team isn't in shape. And United were very, very disciplined about keeping their shape. Mourinho complained after the game that United fullbacks didn't leave their own half. Well, what do you expect? This is their primary weapon is to single out central defenders when the fullbacks go forward, and Ronaldo cuts in from wide areas and gets an opportunity to shoot. And it was so obvious, and Ferguson countered it very, very successfully. It's actually one of the few occasions he's out-tacticked Mourinho in their many meetings, I think, and he got it really, really right. And of course, the details could have been different. Some of United shots could have gone in, some of Madrid's could have gone in. Of course, the result could have been different, but I think United went there with a plan and it executed it really, really well and got the results as a result of doing that.
Yeah, I thought Jones was quite lucky not to give away a penalty with his sort of shoulder barge where...
shoulder!
But it wasn't, though, because if you watch, his arm followed through on his shoulder, and it wouldn't have been whether or not it's a penalty. I literally have no idea. Literally rude, but there's no doubt whatsoever it could have been given as a penalty.
Well, look, let's just say that John Barnes would have had no career whatsoever if handing a player off is a penalty. He was just stronger than his man. I don't believe it for a second. No, we're not playing the same sport if that's a penalty. And football, if that's penalty, football is now basketball. No contact allowed whatsoever. Of course, one foul that wasn't given, that clearly should have been Rafael Varane's trip on Danny Welbeck when he's pretty much clean through. That's at least an amber, that one, if not a red, and nothing given at all. It was one of a number of decisions which were quite frustrating, I think, for the home side, the away side.
It was, but then on the other hand, he wasn't overly fussy about our challenges on Real either. He was quite strong about that, and I think given the crowd and given the nature of Real's side, of Mourinho's side with Ronaldo in it, they're not slow to have a bit of a roll around and a bit of a cry.
Sure, and look, it's no different to any European game. United get decisions in their favour in Europe as well, I think. But that was a crucial one, wasn't it? And I think many referees would have issued a red for that. I mean, it'd be hard to argue against him if he did it. There's potentially Alonso was covering, but that's pretty fine, I think.
Kagawa didn't get a lot of the ball, very difficult to try and play as number 10 against Madrid, at Madrid, presumably. He had a brilliant first 30 seconds, and after that, wasn't a perfect performance for him by any stretch of the imagination. But you think against a side that's pressing, I think he's also a bad match. It would have almost been better if he'd played the last third of that game when Madrid weren't pressing like crazed loons, because I think he did suffer a bit from not having any of that space, and actually Giggs took advantage of the fact that Madrid's pressing was slightly less effective late on.
Right, yeah. I mean, I agree, actually. I think it was a little bit of a surprise that he played, and it was always going to be difficult for United to get the ball to him in dangerous positions. So he is a utility forward, right? Let's not pretend he's a central midfielder. He's someone who plays as 10. He plays between the line of midfield and defence, and United did not get into those positions very often. It was never likely with the game plan that was instigated. It's the only slightly odd decision, I thought, in terms of personnel. I would have personally chosen Cleverley because I think he'd have given United some extra depth in midfield. He's more comfortable in that deeper position, and he would have moved the ball quickly and given some of those things that Kagawa couldn't, because it's not his game. Unlucky for him. I think there are many better games that Kagawa have. In that particular game with the formation United played, it was very difficult for him.
Some debate over Rooney's performance. I thought it was pretty average. A couple of people saying, underestimating how effective he was. Played a couple of really key passes, long balls to ease the pressure, but I thought he kind of gave it away quite a lot. But very, very difficult, and he absolutely put in a mega shift as well.
Well, he ran kilometres and kilometres.
10,000 metres.
Right, yeah, there you go, over 10 kilometres. Yeah, so he put in a shift, but yeah, I agree. I think he was pretty average. I don't think it was a great performance. He was basically there to provide some defensive discipline, wasn't he? And he didn't get that close to Van Persie at all. Fine, but I don't think he did the defensive thing very well, particularly, but he worked really hard for the team. So not his best performance ever. It's hardly fair to criticise him, given that he was basically playing as a second fullback.
Another player who was excellent, I thought, just before we move on, was Rio, and many people just tweeting the words football reasons since then, because flipping heck, he's not good enough for England, but he's good enough for Man United against Real Madrid. It's crazy stuff.
Well, certainly him and Johnny Evans, absolutely impeccable, weren't they? I mean, I can't actually think of a mistake that the two of them made all night. They were brilliant, and Evans rightly now we debated last week, didn't we, whether Evans or Vidic should play. I said I thought it would probably be the maturer pair, but Ferguson knew exactly what he was doing, had his mindset on that, and wasn't going to take any risks with Vidic, and now trusts Evans, and his performances are kind of paying that back, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, it was great that Manchester United's man of the match was either De Gea or Welbeck, the two most maligned players in the United squad. That was sort of pleasing. And the fact that Welbeck is a local boy and a fan of United all his life, and then was absolutely bossing it in the Bernabeu. I mean, I had a bit of the old lump in the throat thinking about that one. That was pretty special.
It was an interesting debate around Twitter today. I managed to catch around the ratings given to some players, and it was, media love to do this because it creates a debate, doesn't it? French sports paper L'Equipe gave David De Gea a 6 and Lopez a 7. Couldn't work that one out myself.
No, that seems a bit silly of French newspaper L'Equipe. Maybe they didn't watch the game; they were having a kip. Yeah. Where do you see the tie now? I mean, obviously, I kind of feel like that away goal it's not so much that it's good that we've got an away goal as it was absolutely necessary for us to get an away goal. So it's good in the sense of it counters out a negative rather than conjuring up its own positive of its own.
Yes, I mean, I think this one is really in the balance. Of course, United being at home, you'd make United marginal favourites here. Of course, there are plenty of goals in the team, so the chances of United scoring 1, 2 or 3 goals are definitely there. You can definitely score against Madrid, can't you? There are definitely going to be chances. This is not Barcelona that plays to retain exactly the same way away from home, to retain possession all the time. They're going to try and play on the break. inherently is the risk for United that if United do push the full-backs forward and play a slightly more expansive system, that Madrid will be able to take advantage. So of course it's in the balance as a result of all of that, and Madrid are perfectly capable of scoring more than one at Old Trafford. But then again, so United. So I'd make United marginal favourites, but only marginally.
Mourinho said afterwards, he's 50-50, pulled the old Valencia. And funnily enough, at 50, with two E's, 50, the number 50, tweeted at me about Phil Jones, and we have a bet whereby if Phil Jones starts for Manchester United, he has to record a comedy jingle for the Rantcast, not Phil Jones, at 50-50. And if Phil Jones doesn't play, I have to follow him on Twitter. This is a bet which I feel is in my favour, both in the fact that I think I'm going to win the bet and also I don't really lose anything. I think Phil Jones will play again in the away leg for sure, because I don't see how it's going to be much different than in terms of the starting 11 than it was at Madrid. I mean, there'll be some changes because there's always some changes, and maybe Kagawa won't play, maybe Valencia will have hit form, because it's still quite a long way away, isn't it?
3 weeks, yeah. 3 very long weeks, I think. It's a real shame that momentum seems to go out of things. It's be so much better if it was just next week, wouldn't it? But I'm not sure the pattern of the game will change loads. I mean, United will have more of the ball, of course, because United are at home and Madrid will try and exploit the space on the break. I think the onus is on, in many ways, United to dictate the style of the game. So will Ferguson try and shut the game down? Will he play Phil Jones to do that? How adventurous will the fullbacks be? How many risks do United play? I mean, there's a certain irony in United having played Kagawa, Van Persie, Rooney and Welbeck, basically 4 forwards. He'll probably play less at home, but be more offensive.
Yeah, and he wasn't too offensive in the build-up, but very polite about Mourinho. And that strange obsession they all have with Mourinho and Fergie and bottles of wine. Ferguson revealed that he left a bottle of wine on the plane, which I think may have been a mind game of some description. And a lovely picture, of course, of the hug between Ronaldo and Ferguson at the end of the game.
This is how much influence that Ferguson has. He can now circumvent airport security. Not only is he bent the FA to his will and UEFA and global superpowers, but now he can take bottles of wine and anything else he likes on a plane, apparently.
Absolutely. There was no bottle of wine. The bottle of wine is a lie. Right, so we've really short show this week, sorry about that, but real life has taken over, so we've just got time for one Twitter question, so I better make it a really good one. At Jack Hawkins 23 says, if United players were crisp flavours, what would they be and why? I think it's pretty clear to all concerned that Phil Jones would be smoky bacon. Just seems like a smoky bacon guy to me. Don't know what you think about that, Ed?
I think he'd be some absolutely awful flavour that makes you kind of screw your face up in a weird gurning fashion.
Like overly strong salt and vinegar, mate.
Yeah.
I think that, Michael Carrick would be ready salted, profoundly underrated, but does a heck of an important job.
I think Ryan Giggs would have to be sweet chilli because, he's hot stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Wayne Rooney's cheese and onion. That's just common sense, you know what I'm saying? Roy Keane would be prawn cocktail. He wouldn't like that, would he? And Eric Cantona would be, like whatever the best crisps in the kettle chips, cheese-flavoured kettle crisps, the best that there is. Who would be Pringles? That'd be Van Persie, because once he starts scoring, he can't stop.
Oh dear. I think we need to stop this now.
I'm really sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, it's not my fault.
You've been thinking about this, haven't you?
Not at all. That was all straight off the top of my dome. All right, so talking straight off the top of the dome, I haven't really thought about this at all, but we play Reading in the FA Cup on Monday night, because football is weird and stupid nowadays. After football, Christmas comes, football will return to work in January, and we have to play Reading. And I'm sort of excited about it, actually, in a weird way. Just as after the glorious excesses of Christmas, it's sort of nice to get back to normal life again. In some ways, it's quite nice to have a bit more of a humdrum fixture. And after an absolutely exhausting couple of weeks, Fergie gets to really bring out the tombola. This is going to be some serious business. Raphael up front, what do you reckon?
No, I think Raphael deserves a break, but yes, I'm thinking 11 changes, don't you? Something along those lines. If Ferguson could make 12, he would make 12 changes. But...
Yeah, well, he could. He just changes the subs a bit.
Well, I suppose so. Does that count?
No.
Look, it's an anticlimax, isn't it? Because it was a really, really massively important Premier League game, followed by the glamour of a big European tie at the Bernabeu. But this is the FA Cup. We've said earlier this season that everyone really wants to win the FA Cup this season. It's an opportunity for United to go and do that. It's not as if this is Reading's priority either, is it? So they've got all kinds of trouble in the Premier League to worry about. So they're still in the relegation zone, and they're just slightly less bad than Wigan and QPR. Not saying very much for them, really, is it? They gave us a hard time, though, in the league, didn't they, down at Reading? They managed to score 3. We just managed to score 4. I wonder whether it would be that kind of game again, although I can't imagine Van Persie will play, or Rooney, or maybe even Welbeck, because he ran so hard. But we'll get to see Cheech, and we'll get to see Cleverley, and we'll get to see Scholes, and maybe we'll get to see a couple of younger players to fill out the squad too.
Yeah, possibly. Although I think that would be something of a surprise in a way. It is quite a good rest between now and then, between the Madrid game and then. But you would think, obviously he's not. You know what will happen is he'll end up playing Ever and Raphael because he somehow believes that fullbacks are immune from ever needing a rest.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. Look, United got a really strong squad, so there's plenty of players that didn't play in all of those games that are going to want minutes, and it's the risk when so many changes are made that not only does the tombola come out and players play in weird positions, but it'll become a bit disjointed. So there's definitely a risk of that, and if you're putting money on it, you'd say that probably United won't be the normal fluent self, and it might be quite a tight game as a result. But maybe we'll get some good cup football.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the meantime, I think it's fair that we look back with joyous happiness on Football Christmas and a pretty decent result. And it's all 50-50 in the tie. And it was great to see Welbeck doing his thing in Longsight, born and raised. At Old Trafford was where he spent most of his days, chilling out, relaxing, playing some football outside of the school. He played for United when he was a kid, and then he ended up bossing it against Madrid. All right, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop now. We'll be back with another one of these next week. I think before we go, we've got to do predictions. Ed, what do you think about the Reading game?
About the Reading game, I think United will win it, but I don't think it's going to be a fluent performance for all the reasons that we've just said. So I'm going to predict a 9-1 win for United. Okay. 2-1 to United, and I think Cheech is due a couple.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good to me. I'll go with 3-1 just to somehow we'll fluke an extra goal in there somewhere.
Very good, very good. I know you have to rush off, and real life does get in the way of podcast superstardom sometimes, I know the love letters will have been flowing in for you. We're recording this on Valentine's Day, and if you'd like to tweet your love for Paul, you can do it at UTD Rantcast on Twitter, and me at United Rant. You can reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/United Rant, and we spend lots of time there, honest. We even have a YouTube channel. There hasn't been a YouTube uploaded to our YouTube channel in 3 or 4 years, but hey, you can go check out some really old footage. And in the meantime, drop us a comment on the show page. Get us on Twitter.
Review the show on iTunes.
Send in your questions. Send in a rant back. No one does that anymore, or in fact ever. If you want to hear your voice on the Rantcast, email us an MP3. That's editor@United Rant, or use a speak pipe function on the website.
Yeah, that's what you need to do if you want to speak to us with your pipes. All right, we'll see you next week, kids. In the meantime, we'll leave you in the capable hands of the Fresh Prince.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.